kids in North America, they play extracurricular sports. So as a Canadian, baseball is a summer activity, winter sport is hockey. When I moved to Canada, it's just something that grabbed my attention. I started out as a player, and then I got into coaching very young, and I was about 18, 19. I realized as a coach, because I didn't have the understanding to break the skills down, how to implement what it is I was trying to instruct. So then I started taking courses to understand the fundamentals and the dynamics behind how you train an individual to execute a task. It is not just a passion to travel around the world because of it. And I think that's the thing that I see in Nigeria. You have the population, but a lot of people don't have any idea of softball or baseball or what they can use to achieve. So softball is just something, we go to see the Blue Jays, we go and we have rivalry with the United States. Every kid wants to grow up to be, they have their idols. The same way you guys have football, we have the same passion for baseball and softball in Canada.
Justin, but I want to ask, has it been that it's not so much of a popular sport after outside some European countries? Why is softball and baseball not so much of a sport that is popular outside the region that is best known to it?
I think with football, it's simple. You need a ball, right? With baseball and softball, you need a bat, you need a glove, you need cleats, you need uniform, you need a mouth guard, a face guard, a helmet. And softball and baseball has always been seen a bit like it's the white man's sport. Because of the costs associated with baseball and softball, I think most parents shy away from it, even in North America. The difference between North America and Nigeria is that the government is invested in the sport, so they actually provide subsidies for marginalized kids who might be able to afford the equipment. There are other private institutions that give donation to make it possible so that kids could play the sport. The other thing about it is most sports that has been brought to kind of came with the colonizers. So everyone knows cricket, they know football, because those are the things that were played during, 1800s and so forth. I think the hesitation is the understanding that if you bring softball or baseball to Africa, you actually have to change the culture of sport in order to accommodate this new sport. It's not like football. It took decades to understand. It looked like someone standing and put so much the integral part into learning the sport. This is one of the reasons why when I came to Nigeria, I said the kids are at a disadvantage because they don't have the playing equipment. They don't have the playing field. They don't have the support from the federation or from the government to provide the resources necessary so that they can learn the sport free and then later realize it's something that they are passionate about and they can use it as a means to employment, education, staying out of trouble. So I think people shy away from it because it's seen as a North American, it's an American sport, it's a Canadian sport, it's known in Europe, but in Africa, because of the costs associated with it and the education and training that is required to become qualified in it, people shy away. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's the truth, but that's what I perceive as the issue as to why Africa hasn't embraced it the same way they did football.
Well, sir, I think you've given us a very, very good objective. But tell us, you're based in Ghana. Can you tell us if there's any really difference between baseball, softball in Ghana and Nigeria? Is there any development in one part of the continent between Nigeria and Ghana that which of them are embracing the sports the more?
So Nigeria has taken on the Little League approach. So basically, they play a junior, major, and they believe more along the lines of school ball that then leads into Ghana. What they're trying to do as well. Softball used to be big in Ghana. It used to be big in Nigeria as well. And the problem that I perceive is that it's based too much on the political currents. And what I mean by that is you have one government that may buy into it, and then when they leave office, their vision leaves with them. And if the community people do not step in and take the leadership, then it doesn't go. So right now in Ghana, baseball five is a big thing. Female softball, we're trying to bring it back, and we've started with schools. It hasn't been a good sell so far because we have to convince the parents that it's okay to let the girls play the sport. Because as you know, sport is not something that a lot of young girls are exposed to. There are a few women who break through, the glass ceiling, and they're able to, get to the university on it. But in average, a lot of runners, and you have maybe basketball player that come from different regions of Africa, but or community ball. So Ghana is struggling very much like Nigeria to get sponsorship, we have a diamond. But again, our biggest issue, convincing the families that this is a viable alternative for their children, especially when you are marginalized or you're poor, you're chasing the dollar to feed your family. So it's very difficult to then say, oh, on top of that, can you pay for baseball equipment, softball equipment? Given permission for your daughter who has to help you hawk or who has to help you collect the firewood, so forth. Parents see it as a distraction to the home health. 3 hours they don't have home environment, which is kind of to go and do whatever they want to do. Because the girls are seen as a saver, parents are a little bit more resistance to let them go. So the biggest issue I've had in Ghana is more about the attitude about girls in sports, and that having to do the education to family, to school, to the community about girls in sport is the same as boys in sports, and there's really no difference to the access. So that has been my biggest challenge here.
Okay.
The Federation in Ghana is working diligently to try and come up with their own program and to spread it across Ghana. It hasn't been easy. And I think the Little League concept in Nigeria is a little bit easier to take hold of because it's almost like a pyramid. So there is a federation body of Little League, and under that you can have a club, and each club is following the Little League principle. So the club I visited is a member of the Little League program with their own administration, with their own. We don't have a Little League in Ghana, and I don't know if it's something that they see in the future. Little League is one option. Community base is another. Travel ball is another. High school. So there are a lot of different ways to bring softball and baseball to the mass. It's a matter of the commitment of the people, the Ministry of Sport. For instance, in Canada, we have money that is earmarked for sports. So when the ministry is talking about sports and sports development, for resources for schools, for teachers, it's part of the budget. It's a built-in part of the infrastructure. That doesn't exist in Ghana, it doesn't exist in Nigeria as yet. So once that changes, I think you will see a lot of change and access to sports for marginalized kids, especially young girls. And I think the opportunity to go to the Netherlands and to go to Poland will raise some awareness of what this sport can give you. Because for a lot of these young kids in this club, when they go there, their eyes are about to be blown open with a different reality, a different world. So the hope is that when they come back from this, they will be bringing new skills, not just to themselves and their family, but to their community and to their schools.
Okay, well said. I mean, you've just in a few words simplified so much an overview of what is going on in Ghana and also in Nigeria. But you mentioned on that day we met about the challenges in Nigeria. What are these challenges in Nigeria that needs to overcome to enable the game, softball or baseball, be appreciable, accepted from young boys and girls? What are these challenges the country needs to overcome, or the sporting sector needs to overcome, so it can raise baseball and softball?
Okay. First and foremost, accessibility to the sport. So there should be community-based education program. Like Peru 30 years ago, they opened community sporting centers where children could go on the weekend for free and try the sport. Right, as an end result of a commitment from the government, the Ministry of Sport, they infuse the community with the knowledge and the exposure. And 1 out of every 5 child, for instance, would then say, okay, I'm interested and I want to learn it. So if you don't have access to it is the first thing. So when I say free access, I mean having community hubs where the government says, the Minister of Sports says, okay, we're going to fund this particular activity for the community. So we're going to provide the equipment, we're going to do the training trainers, and then they're going to do the recruitment of the young people in the community, in the schools, and they're going to then exchange the knowledge. So currently that doesn't exist. The other thing is, the girls, for instance, in Ibado, they're practicing in a field, in a school, and they're sharing it with the cows, with the goats, with the chickens. It's not ideal for raising champions. If you want to compete on a international level or even on a higher level, you have to train at that level. And in order for you to train at that level, you have to have access to the resources necessary. So lack of funding. The coaches do not get opportunity to travel, to expand their knowledge. Softball, as I said to you, is a very complex sport. The more you learn, the more you know, the better coaches style you have. So having an opportunity to get a passport, a visa, to go to Italy as a coach, to learn pitching skills, to learn catching skills, will only enrich your Nigerian players. So when you have blockage to that or you don't have support to that, then what happens is you've hit the top of your plateau. You've hit the top of where you can go, and the learning stops. So financial support, equipment, funds to visa, passport, stipends for trainers, so that if they're giving up time from work to actually do training, somebody has to supplement their income while they're doing that. I can't say that enough. Volunteerism is something that drives baseball and softball in North America. But if you're going to get to that level where you're doing traveling, you're representing the country national level, then money has to be in the trainers, funding the coaches, so that their focus is only on the sport. Because if I have to take time away from my family, who's feeding my family while I'm traveling and representing the country? I shouldn't leave my home where I have a bed and I have breakfast to go to a community as a trainer or as a coach, and I'm not given, 3 meals a day, or I'm sleeping under the gym. Those kind of stuff shouldn't happen. So the sport doesn't grow as quickly here because the people who have played it, especially the ones who've played on the national level, they know what's possible. And when they come and they're asking for stuff, they're not necessarily taken as seriously as they should. So I think there needs to be better dialogue between the Minister of Sports, the Federation of Sport, as well as the Little League program about how do we strategically move the sport into the 21st century, right? And that is not only about funding for players, the code of conduct, continuous buy-in, because the game is different in Nigeria than it is in. And if I'm not traveling to train my players to excel, I can't. The most difficult things for me when I was there is that I'm walking into a park and I see garbage in the park. I see a whole pothole on the street, or I see there's no access to a bathroom while I'm training. I see kids throwing up in sandals. The bats that they have are dead. So bats have a lifespan to them after a certain hit. It doesn't work the same way. And the sport itself requires you to stay in tune with the changes that are happening. You have to train umpires, and you have to train people at the community level. You have to train the parents as well to support the coaches. So it's a holistic system that needs to be put in place where every player is doing their part. It's an ecosystem where everyone has a responsibility, but the responsibility has to come from the Minister of Sports, from the government, to say, this is how we're going to strategically grow the sport, and we're going to support the trainers and the coaches, whether it's through bringing people from North America to do the training and certification process so that our coaches are certified. So when they go to the higher level, they have that certification, they have that knowledge to become more competitive. Okay. And currently the system is kind of a mishmash. Everyone is doing their own thing, and we're always scrambling in the last minute. So we're about to go to Poland, and now we're scrambling to introduce the team. We're scrambling to get visibility. We're scrambling. It shouldn't be that way. There should be a season for the sport, and everyone knows this is the season for training players. This is a season for training coaches. This is a season for training umpires. This is when the tournaments are going to be called every year. This is when the qualifier, and there's a process in place that says with every qualifier that we win, we're going to need visa, we're going to need passport, we're going to need stipend, we're going to need training, we're going to need a physician, we're going to need the working holistically together as one group. We're not going to grow as quickly and as efficiently as we could. Because you can't have one team doing one thing, one club doing another thing, and then you're expecting the same result. There needs to be better leadership, and there just needs to be more support. There's a field that's been under construction for a long period of time, and if the students and the players have access to that stadium to practice, it would make a huge difference. And if we're not able to do that, then the chiefs need to just kind of designate, we're giving you an acre of land and it's for sports. So there's that commitment, right? And that commitment is not wasted. The schools, you have it as part of the curriculum as well, so that during gym time, you're learning football, you're learning volleyball, you're learning basketball and baseball. Okay. That's the only way.
Yolande, thank you for your time. But one more question in a few minutes. I expect you to just give me a few responses to this particular question. The Adekalu baseball team will be traveling to Czech and also Netherlands. Tell us the whole of opportunity that they are expected to gain from this tournament if at the end of the day they get to leave the shore of the country.
Okay, this is the 5th time they've been invited to go. And if they're able to get the visa and they're able to get the passport and they're able to get the recognition, so they're representing Nigeria. So when they go to the Netherlands and they go to Poland, it will be the first time that people will see the skill level that comes out of Nigeria. It's also an opportunity for people to realize that there's an opportunity for sports, this type of sport, to be developed in Nigeria. It puts your country on the map, the same Canada, the United States, when it comes to softball and baseball. For professional organization, it also shows them that there are athletes that we can recruit, similar to Uganda. That's what's happening in Uganda now. So it opens a window, unlimited opportunity for fundraising, for collaboration, for university, for recruiting. But also, it's an opportunity for your government to then be able to have partnerships with other government around sports. And for this club in particular, I guarantee you that when they go and come back, the interest, because of how well they will do overseas, the interest will grow exponentially. So it's not just an opportunity for the individuals and the coach and the club, but the opportunity for Nigeria to be recognized as a force to be reckoned with when it comes to baseball and softball.
Okay.
So I hope the government and the ministers will support them so that we can get that visibility for Nigeria and the club.
Okay. Yolande, thank you for your time, for being part of today's program.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Baseball, softball is life.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next thing you need is baseball and softball.
Next thing I need is baseball and
yes, because it'll give you everything. It gives you access to employment. It gives you relationship has been started on the field, right? Romance, baseball, education, food. It opens a whole new world to you that is most people don't even realize. I've been to 98 countries in my lifetime, and 35 of them has been because of baseball and softball.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you very much. We hope to see you soon, and extend our greetings to your family in Ghana and your family in Canada.
Family in Nigeria, because I now have a family in Nigeria with this club.
Okay, very much. We've been a Canadian trainer based in Ghana. Has been doing so well, like you rightly there, for herself when it comes to softball and baseball in Africa. So for the development of softball and baseball, she has encouraged everyone to at least participate in softball or baseball. I'm still Mudashi Shutu. Thanks for keeping with us on this part of, in this part of the program. I want to say a big thank you for those that have joined us on all our social media platforms to always continue to watch 360 Sports. Same time next week. Bye for now.
J'ai le virus de planter des arbres. C'est un dépotoir d'ordures ménagères. Du fait que les villageois ne savaient pas qu'est-ce que c'est que l'importance de la forêt, ils prenaient leurs ordures et les déposaient. En ce moment, je leur ai sensibilisé de leur dire que l'arbre doit vivre comme nous, donc il ne faut pas salir l'arbre. C'est ce que nous a donné l'impact positif pour avoir ici un périmètre pour cultiver. Le 2 mai 2005, on a allé voir les eaux et forêts qui nous ont attribué 500 mètres carrés en incurgère. Et avec ça, on a choisi le maraîchage. On était à 3 hectares, mais on ne cultive pas sous la haute tension et on nous a déguerpi et on est à 2 hectares.
Si on fait travailler ces femmes dans cette forêt, c'est pour qu'elles prennent également soin de cette forêt. Ça permet de fertiliser, de les autonomiser économiquement à travers la vente de fruits.
Tous les arbres fruitiers que vous voyez, c'est nous qui l'avons planté. Chaque renier.
Merci beaucoup. Que ce sont des dames très dynamiques, des dames très braves, qui subissent de plein fouet les effets des changements climatiques. Nous, on vient en rescousse pour informer, pour sensibiliser sur des solutions, la promotion de bonnes pratiques. Pour les cas pires, c'est également l'apparition de nouveaux parasites. Et ça, on le vit ici au quotidien et un peu partout au Sénégal. Ça participe également à la dégradation des sols. Justement, c'est la raison pour laquelle nous, on essaye de trouver comme solution prioritaire aujourd'hui le reboisement massif dans les périmètres maraîchers avec des espèces qui sont répulseurs aussi.
Notre projet d'avenir, si les femmes l'acceptent, on veut faire un projet de pépinière dans les alvéoles pour alléger les travaux.
La femme est à l'image de la terre. Ce sont des vrais écoféministes qui sont là, qui sont engagés pour la protection et la préservation de l'environnement.
La forêt, c'est nous et nous, c'est la forêt.
Amid debates over the emergency rule in Rivers State, the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Iba, suspended all political appointees, including all boards and their management. Those are the secretary to the state government, the chief of staff, all commissioners, chairpersons and members of boards, agencies, commissions and parastatals, as well as special advisors, special assistants and senior special assistants. The suspension took effect from Wednesday 5 and the affected officers were to the permanent secretary. In a statement, the government said that the decision aligns with the powers vested in the administrator by President Bola Tinubu. Now, following his swearing in as sole administrator of Rivers State on March the 19th, Ibas, who is a former chief of naval staff, vowed to ensure that order is restored in 6 months of the emergency rule. Let me also say this, that as governors of the PDP, about 6 of them have decided to approach the Supreme Court as well to seek interpretation as to whether the president has the powers to declare emergency, not just declare emergency now, but to suspend the democratically elected governor of Rivers State, the State House of Assembly, as well as the deputy governor. Well, the case is now before the Supreme Court, and before long, I want to believe all of this argument will come to an end, and then everyone will know the position of things when it comes to the declaration of emergency in any part. All of this for the party in Rivers State in the 2023 governorship election. Dan Princewill Fafa. I also have Wisdom Chap Jumbo, who's a public affairs analyst now. He joins us from Rivers State. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Any surprise at all that the sole administrator took the action he did by suspending all political appointees?
Quite frankly, I do not know how a sole administrator would work with political appointees, especially those who are not for statutory tenured positions. I believe that the issue really is whether or not the appointment of a sole administrator is appropriate or is constitutional.
Legitimate, yeah,
constitutional. That is already in court, but practically, I don't see how a sole administrator would just step into the shoes of a governor and start operating with the people that the governor had appointed. I think that would be a practical, there will be practical issues there. However, clearly, for those who are tenured and those whose positions are a little bit more statutorily protected and who are quasi-political, not quite working at the beck and call of the governor.
Like what?
For example, you have parastatals, where the
board chairmen had been appointed and all of that.
Yeah, some board chairmen, I would say, they don't interact with the governor from day-to-day business. They are not, I do not see the need for all of them to be removed. But clearly, there are many that if the sole administrator want to have a free hand, he would have to appoint himself. I think I understand that,
Oh, okay. Wisdom, what's your take on this?
I agree with him. To function, he need to indeed suspend an appointment so that to be able to give the administrator some headroom to work, and also to be able to effect. Remember, we are in a state of emergency, so it's not we're not in the normal times. So these measures put in place, I believe, are just put in place to be able to administrator do what the assignment he has, which is to ensure that he restores peace and other. But like Mr. Fafa said also, there are some positions I think maybe all of them shouldn't have been affected, but we are not sure what the directive he must have received to make him, extend those suspension to most of those positions, where some of the board parastatal position. But in general, I think the essence is to allow him work, because we saw that some appointees of the governor were still issuing press releases. We tried to warn most of them that, look, you guys really need to be careful and allow the administrator to work. Whether you agree or not, the issue is in court to determine whether putting him there in the first place is legal or not. So the Supreme Court to let us know. But some of them were still issuing press releases, that we feel like they should have just put a hold on to it since the governor and the deputy governor and the House made suspension. And most specifically, the chief press secretary to the governor will continue to issue, many press releases, even when he didn't have access to the governor to get direction. So that's really disturbing at the time. But this is where we are now.
Okay, let me ask you, Fafa.
Yes.
The Supreme Court to make a pronouncement. There's going to be a clear argument as to whether the president has the right not just to declare an emergency, but to also suspend an elected governor. I mean, the Supreme Court would have to, decide on that, and then I believe all the argument would after then probably, come to an end. But let us look at the crisis itself. Why do you think the crisis got worse, escalated, and had to intervene and declare the state of emergency? What exactly would you say, worsened this? That the elders, political elders in Rivers State could not even resolve it. Elders in the South region could not even resolve it?
No, it is not that the elders could not resolve it. It is not that River State citizens could not. It's the nature of the problem, to my mind, that does not allow itself to be resolved. It wasn't a dispute, to be resolved. You see, basically, the issue was that since...
It wasn't a dispute to be resolved?
No, not really, because since 1999, what happened, and I've had cause to discuss this a few times, even publicly. Since 1999, River State entered a political situation in which there was some kind of a broken platform. Okay? In 1999, the state got together, governorship, Land River Rhine. The old Bayelsa was part of River State at the time. When Bayelsa State was created, it was now a new state, and the issue of how the zoning should be and all of that came up. I remember distinctly that especially it was the Jaw leaders, the Calabari leaders to be specific, who brokered the idea that it should be zoned to the upland. Okay, and when it was zoned to the upland, which meant that the mainstream major candidates from the river, and I myself and Sobrekon were the two main candidates at the time, not contest the election, because we were Ijaw. And it was zoned to the upland. And Dr. Peter Odili became the governor. Dr. Odili became the disputes, and some because they are the largest group in the upland, or not the largest, but they are one of. The Ogoni is also a very large group, in the upland. But it didn't turn out that way. So somehow, when Dr. Odili concluded and now chose another upland candidate. Amechi, it became...
He did not choose him anyway.
Well,
we know how it played out.
No, he chose him at the beginning. He was his candidate at the beginning. It's just that...
That's true.
Yes, it's just that he moved from Amechi to Umehia. Okay?
Another upland.
Another upland, person. Yeah. And then after that... So progressively, River State political situation got what I would call a smaller and smaller catchment area. Okay? Because when that platform broke, the Amechi people were angry. Unfortunately, he got into power after that. Then his platform broke again when Nyesom Wike and him, though both Ikwere. So each new political cycle got the group smaller and smaller and smaller. Right now, it is Nyesom Wike's group that was in power. They had excluded even the Amechi group. That group,
and of course, the group
broke again.
They brought in somebody from the River Rhine area.
And then they brought in
for equity.
Well, that's another long story.
Well, you could say for equity. Anyway, but
whichever way you say it, but it was very clear that the state was not going to accept another upland candidate. So that Governor Fubara came in. Okay. So when Governor Fubara had issue again with Nyesom Wike, it was yet another breakage of another platform. So we have a situation in River State where the political grouping in power has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, leaving a large number of people outside. But
my question is this: even within this smaller grouping, why? I mean, you have some leaders, you call elder statesmen in the states, beyond politics. Why were they not able to resolve this?
That's what I'm telling you, that the nature of the breakage of platforms, they could not, you can't reconcile when you don't know what they're fighting over. You can't reconcile when you don't know, you don't understand, you don't know where the skeletons are buried. So what the issue really has been is that even now, when we even in the political groups, I don't think very many people know what the issues are.
So I don't think it's a failure
on the part of River State elders. I don't accept that. I don't think it's a failure on the part of well-meaning people.
The reason I brought this up, and
Yes.
to some extent, and let me come to you, Wisdom. Part of the reasons why somehow I have a feeling that, look, the elders also failed to resolve this. When they had that meeting with the president, some of the elders were there. I mean, they were there. And you would expect that our elders would have called, all the sides together and sit down and resolve it. But after that meeting with the president, when some of the elders even now descended onto the arena of conflict and started making statements and pronouncements that were not helpful at all, clearly taking sides.
Okay, thanks, JD. So,
Deji, actually,
most respectfully, JD, rather, most respectfully, I want to disagree with Mr. Fafa. Look, our elders in River State, the reason why this problem has not been solved till today is that the elders, they took a side. So some elders stood with Wike, the other elders stood with Sim, they took a side. When there are crises like this, or when there are issues like this, we can't go to elders, have already decided in their heart who to stand with. So that's where the issue is. So no, there are elders that should have solved this, but the elders are divided. The elders are divided, and I like that he has given a background on the political history of Johnny of the states. And truthfully, that's where we are coming from to where we are now. But what we are seeing today is that in 2023, many people forgot how the elections really went that produced Governor Fubara. And the campaign, which some of us, someone like me, was fully part of, when we supported Fubara to be governor, was we were working on the campaign mantra of consolidation and continuity. So what was the idea is that Fubara was coming from a political family of Wike in the PDP, and the idea was to continue with the good works and the leadership of Yes and Wike in the state and continue. So what then caused the problem? As the FCT minister has spoken a few times, the issue started on when we started arguing on a structure, political structure. Who takes over the structure, of the party in the state? Who wants to control everything? The governor had between May 2023, May 29, 2023, to June the 17th to have conducted the LG election, but he refused to do so. Why did he refuse to do so was because he had a plan. And most people who advised him gave him that plan to say, don't do local government elections until after their tenure expires so that we can put in CTC, chairman in the local government. So the issues we see in River State today began on the disagreement on what should happen to the local government. That's where the issue started from. And I know the minister has spoken about this a few times. But they called for, a peace conversation. And in that peace conversation, there were 8-point agreements. In that 8-point agreement, everybody was there. Even, like we like to call him, our great-grandfather in the politics in River State, Dr. Peter Odele, was there. He read, according to people that were there, the 8-point agenda to everybody in the room. And the governor was asked the question, do you agree or not disagree? He said he agrees with the plan, and his only objection, according to people who were there that narrated it, was that he said, Mr. President, my only request is that my supporters should not be victimized, and everybody agreed. We all came back to River State. The governor did a broadcast and told everybody he signed that agreement and was going to keep up to it. He did 8 things from that agreement, but did not do 2 of them, which is 1, conduct local government election and represent your budget to the Constituted Assembly of 27 members led by Martins Amewu. So the issue we are in now today is that many people did not say anything when we had the governor presenting his budget. Many people did not have an issue with a governor who was screening members of his cabinet with only 3 members of the assembly. Section 96 of the Constitution clearly states the quorum of an assembly before you can conduct business. And even when there were multiple, there were different court orders that were against the governor of how he was operating, Some of these elders that were with him were advising him to continue with an unconstitutional process and an illegal act. He even presented the 2025 budget against a court order.
But then let me ask you this. Let me ask you. Sorry to interject.
So you see all the different process where we are coming from that led to where we are today. If only he was advised correctly and he acted according to the provisions of the Constitution. I don't know how we want to solve this when we have elders.
Just hold on. I understand. I mean, we know some of those things, but let me ask you this: how does this state of emergency, how will it resolve? Because up till this moment, I have not seen, if you like, any attempt at all, from all the sides to come together. What I'm seeing is, it appears the various sides are trying to dig in, and of course, which is not in any way helpful. So for you now, what do you expect to begin to see? How should this emergency period be used to resolve?
I'd like to make a comment.
I'm going to come to you. Just hold on. You'll make a comment. So let me hear from you, Wisdom.
Okay, thank you, Deji. So we have 6 months. Quite unfortunate. I like to say that we have a state of emergency avoided, but peace. We have 6 months come together. They are going to restore. We were not heard from Port Harcourt, which of course, if we didn't have this kind of emergency, things could have really gone worse. Those of us from Rivers State, we know how these things really do happen. But yes, it's an opportunity for us to reflect, for the actors in this to reflect and people come together. There are peace conversations happening, in little segments. If you're listening, closely, the suspended governor has had the time to meet with the sacked 23 local government chairmen just recently to have conversations with them, though those conversations were not public. We believe that as we go, we've only had 2 weeks since the administrator resumed. So we believe in coming days, there will be different conversations that will be happening. They might not be public. Most frankly, we don't expect really to see them public, even though we wish they should be. But these conversations are happening, bring parties together to indeed form an alignment and have a political solution to some of these issues and be able to reflect for the greater good of Rivers people. Okay. Because, Deji, we need to deliver governance to the people. Salaries are being owed, and things need to really move. Civil servants don't deserve, what they're experiencing in spite of all of these issues. We need to make sure that governance, keeps moving. And at the end of this state of emergency, we want to see that everybody has come to form really an alignment that moves the state forward and restore peace for us.
I think it's on that note we'll just have to leave it. But just before we go, Mr. Fafa, very quickly, because we're out of time, don't you think the president too needs to probably hold another meeting with all the parties involved, the genuine elders of Rivers, and just one more meeting as well?
I think the presidents, I've said it publicly, that I think the presidents need broader advice. I think the advice he gets is obviously tilted, and in Rivers State, the position is that he's taking sides. I believe that you can't make peace successfully if the participants don't think that you are fair. And whether we like it or not, Rivers State at this point now, his own aide has created an ethnic issue out of it, which was not quite plainly so, but it is unprecedented in the history of Nigeria for a sitting minister to attack an ethnic group openly, and then to go there in a provocative manner and to ordinarily have a lot of sympathy and understanding for Wike in his politics, but he has way gone out of line, and the president needs to rein in and get everyone to behave properly. We certainly need a new reset in Rivers State, absolutely new reset. I would say that he should call out, for the entire state, and people would rally around him to get a more successful
All right,
conciliation.
gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us. And I appreciate the fact that everybody wants peace for River State and development as well. And the hope is that something positive and something great will come out of this chaos that we have at the moment. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program, and I really appreciate your coming.
Thanks you very much.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us, don't go away.
Opinions free, facts are sacred, the truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
When you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and Bisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts.
I believe what politicians say in this part of the world. A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it. Use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Now, Nigeria's 2027 general elections may still be some clear 2 years away, but politicians in the country are already making serious preparation for the election, especially at the presidential race now. And it's looking we're still going to have some fun that election. Recently, key opposition leaders, now led by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, formally announced a coalition aimed at unseating President Bola Tinubu and the ruling All Progressives Congress in 2027. Now, Abubakar was the president candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 race, and it looks like he will be back in the race in 2027. What is really not clear at this time is whether it will be on the platform of the PDP. Interestingly, though, the coalition includes prominent figures like Peter Obi, the Labour Party candidate in the 2023 presidential race, Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State and one-time chieftain of the APC, who is now of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. There's also Babachi Lawal, a former secretary to the government of the Federation and also a former member of the APC. There are other prominent political figures as well. According to them, the move is necessary to save Nigeria's democracy. Now, the official unveiling of the coalition ended weeks of speculations and uncertainty over the possibility of such an arrangement. The move has, however, been met with skepticism, while the APC and other political leaders faulted the formation of the coalition and the idea of a mega party to wrestle power from the APC, saying the move is driven by personal ambition. Well, joining now to discuss this is Lester Wilcox, who's a political affairs analyst. He joins us from Lagos. From here is Sonny Maduka, another political affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Lester. Isn't it too early? Isn't it too early? Because it appears things are changing. The current government in power has not even done up to 2 years. And already we're talking about 2027.
Look, they say 24 hours in politics is too long a time. So 2 years in politics might be too short a time because politics is dynamic. And the earlier you start to know where you are going, where your next where you drop the next anchor, the better for you. You see, I think it's not. I mean, if you know what happened in 2015, it was a movement that started in 2012 that accommodated to 2015. I remember when Bola Tinubu was to go and meet Buhari to say, okay, let us join forces in order to seat a government. That move started in 2012, shortly after the 2011 election. And then we saw starting now a coalition that wants to unseat a sitting government in Nigeria. There's no time that is too early. I think they're even late because there's a lot of groundwork to be done if they are really serious in carrying out their threats. And if they have to go the APC way, how APC was formed, and how APC was able to mobilize and be able to unseat a ruling party from office. So it's not too early, Deji. I think for me, it's like what they are able to do, even with the time they have at their disposal.
But don't you think they may suffer some kind of burnout, if you like, financial burn? Because we're looking at a very long time here. And you know, we're talking about, you look at this, man, there, you know, quite a number of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, people would say, does not have the kind of financial muscle he used to have in the past. And I'm just wondering, do they have the financial resources to be able to sustain this over the next 2.5 years?
Well, before you go to war, you must count the cost. I'm sure the politicians, they know, they know what it takes to run politics in Nigeria. It's okay. In the UK, you can run election without any kobo in your pocket. But in Nigeria, that cannot happen because you need a lot of deep pocket to be able to make good. Well, most of them, they already have a lot of war chests, a lot of big pockets. Most of them, they came out of offices with a lot of economic EFCC case hanging on their neck, talking about how they corrupted and read themselves while they were in office, even though they have not been proved guilty. So, and then they understand the game better than you and I, Deji, because we are not politicians. So they know that in terms of burning out, I don't think they will. What will burn them out is the disagreement within themselves. What's going to burn them out? Because harmonization of purpose. If there's no harmonization of purpose, then they will burn out because at some point there will not be divergent opinion. Look, what made the APC to succeed was just one thing: the concession of the presidential ticket to the North and to Muhammadu Buhari. So even the Bola Tinubu that was the champion of it, I mean, his own ambition. And from onset, they know this is the man we are going to give this ticket to. And so they all work towards that. But in this case now, they are just trying to come together. To burn them out is when their interest is not recognized. That's what burn them out, not necessarily because they clash with one another.
Sonny, let me come. You know, people are already making permutations. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has not hidden his desire to be the president of this country. He's also, I mean, he's made it clear that he intends to run again. There's also no question that Peter Obi wants to run as you know, presidential candidate. You have El Rufai in the mix, and you have some other big names there in the mix as well. So talking about interest, what would your own permutation be now? Do you think any of these individuals now with very strong characters, I must say, very strong character, do you think any of them would be willing to bury their interest, you know, for the sake of others?
Yeah, what happened in 2023 probably will not happen now. There's a lot of trajectory. More so, Nigerians are getting worried. Prior to 2015, there was clamor for change. And that was when you asked Alex about money or monetary muscle, I was just laughing because 2015 wasn't about money. It was about Nigeria needing that change. If it's money, PDP will bankroll the campaign and a lot. The Nigerians were just after change. And even now, we have come to that trajectory. Nigerians are not looking at money. And I'm telling you, 8% of Nigerians they are looking at change. And that change is all about the policy of it, the policy of this president. Nigerians are going through a lot of questions. So the only problem we are going to have is concession.
Is what?
Concession. Can they be able to give themselves that concession, looking at Nigeria as the basic active of what they are fighting? For instance, we know from all the ones you mentioned, we can at least have one that Nigerians are clamoring for. And it's all over the planet, everybody at work. I wish that the 4 or 5 of them would sit down, bury their personal interest, and choose the best that suits Nigeria. And that's why and how they are going to make it. If parochial, they are looking for their own step. I'm telling you that anywhere.
Politicians are known to be parochial. Politicians are known to, I mean, for politicians, it's always about their interests. So that's where the issue is.
But this time, it is not going to be like that.
Really?
There's a lot of anger. Yeah, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of melancholy among these ones that are trying to unseat APC. And they want to do everything possible to see that they unseat the president. But my problem about this unseating is if you can't unseat somebody who came to power through difference and through different deformities, the incumbent, can we do that? And the foundation of our electoral system. We must go back to the foundation of that electoral system, electoral law. Even if you choose the best among ones, and you have a foundational flaw in our electoral process, there's nothing they can do. Just like they tell you, go to court, and they will give you results at 3 a.m. and nothing happens. I think the basic thing we should be talking about this is how do we change our electoral law so that every vote counts, so that we don't have what we have, 2023. The intimidations, the harassment, the disenfranchisement, and the tribal aspect of it. If we can look at the law, I think it will help and it will give Nigerians every confidence to go there and vote, and knowing that their vote will count. That is my problem. Not about it.
All right. Alessi, do you get the impression, just as Sani said, that votes don't count? Because I have covered elections in this country, and to the best of my knowledge, votes actually count.
Well, I agree. Vote counts because at some point you will discover that where people seriously stand decide to show their character, the votes will count in those areas. It's not to say that there are no unruly behaviors during our electoral systems, and for which, unfortunately, the courts have not been able to help us in that respect. So votes actually count. So anybody that thinks that vote does not count, then the greatest danger is to sit back and not make your vote to count. Because like I always tell people, votes that will be used to rig any election is the one that didn't come out to vote. Now, if you come out to vote, your vote will be counted and it will be recorded. And it is those that do not come out to vote, or areas where politicians have been able to manipulate the electoral system, the voter system, to be able to use to manipulate. And whoever has the upper hand in those areas will be able to manipulate. I mean, if vote doesn't count, how come Peter Obi was able to win Lagos in 2023? So it's just because vote counts, and we should not have that notion. Yes, there is irregularities, and unfortunately, like I said, the Supreme Court in 2015 delivered a kind of judgment that disrupted a smooth election in Nigeria, and I'm very, very particular about that. In 2000 court, the case of set a very bad precedent that turned the hand of the clock backward. If not for that judgment, today our election would have been cleaner. That politicians would not have had any room to maneuver and to rig elections without consequences of the action. So votes count, but unfortunately,
now let's go back to this issue of some of the big names in this coalition, and Sani did raise something very important, and it's something that we've all been talking about here, the issue of interest. Now you look at this in individuals and their interests. You think when the time comes, they will be able to coalesce and probably bury their individual interest and probably pick one of them and support. Take, for instance, you think the others would want to rally around say, an Atiku Abubakar's candidature?
Let's play back to 2023. The singular factor that put Bola Tinubu in Aso Rock is Peter Obi. That was the singular factor that put Bola Tinubu in Aso Rock. Look, if, as I then, I don't know what gave Obi the impression that he has a national spread. And even then, the people of that is begged, the real leaders of the South, because they know the implications, they begged that it would be better for Peter Obi to subsume his ambition. But unfortunately, let's say the Almighty God is on the side of Bola Tinubu, so it creates confusion in the camp of his enemies. So even where they saw the handwriting clearly, that individually they could not do it, they cannot get it individually. They still did not, Peter Obi did not. So Peter Obi was the singular factor that put Bola Tinubu in Aso Rock. Now, so coming to 2020, forget, I mean, some people say, okay, Kwakwanso was not part of it. But forget Kwakwanso. Kwakwanso was just one state. I mean, it was just one state, Kano. And that state was a state where anybody could have gotten enough vote. But you see where Peter Obi was able to beat the APC from their traditional southeast and south-south, and even vote amounted to waste. So 2027 will be more dynamic. But right now, there will be the geopolitical consideration between North and South. Now, the North have their 8 years, according to the unsigned or unsigned agreement. The North have had their 8 years. So it's expected that the South have their 8 years. So now, who is more eligible in the South among this coalition? Peter Obi has lost face because I don't see where an Atiku will help Peter Obi. We want to consider Peter Obi having been the one, that singular person that made it not to win the presidential election in 2023. And I don't see how either El Rufai or Kwakwanso or whoever want to consider Peter Obi, which is the most prominent southern figure in that coalition. And don't forget that APC is not sleeping. Right now, they have all the whatever force, coercion, and like I just told you, 2015 was a watershed as far as the Supreme Court judgment is concerned about free and fair election in Nigeria. So you cannot have a free and fair election here. I mean, it's even made worse by 2023 judgment that rendered electronic voting and electronic voting portal not relevant apart from the manual one. So you may not be able to have a free and fair election in a very, very long time in Nigeria. So long as those you are not able to muster the kind of muscle that the APC was able to muster during the 2015 election. So, and like I said, at that coalition, Bola Tinubu was clear of his own ambition because he was the mover. He was clear that he knew he was not going to stand a chance of winning the election. That's why the President Buhari, whom he supported, knowing fully well that the North must have their 8 years, the South haven't had theirs, and so he can now who is formidable in the South to be given that mandate. And if you can't take a Northerner, how will the South react to that Northerner? And how will it come out? So geopolitics must come into play, personality must come into play, and then the work we have to counter.
I get your
so
point.
it's a long fight for them.
I get your
it's
point.
It's a long route. A very long route to freedom.
I get your point. Let me come to you, Sani Maduka. Do you foresee a likely scenario where we would have a repeat of what we had in 2019, an Atiku Obi ticket? Or are you looking at an Obi Atiku ticket, an Obi El Rufai ticket?
Let me come. I think unless you didn't get it right, Obi never lost 2023 election. We all knew about it. Let us be frank for ourselves. We know what happened in
No, but I disagree with you. He lost there. Let's not even go there.
Understand? Okay, but for the Peter Obi and because of the unwritten the custom or written law, whereby the South must have their 8 years, I think Peter Obi has a better chance of this point. 53. I think we never wanted to contest. As people said that if the presidential candidate goes to the South, and he will not contest.
That was all Look, that was all political talk. I can tell you that.
No, No. But what happened was when Wike came out and said he contested. That was why he came up. He said it severally. He never wanted.
And you believe that?
Yeah. Well, he said it, so we let us believe him, and because he said it. So what I'm saying that don't be surprised that Atiku may support the people because of their friendship, and for El-Rufai and others, and because they want APC out of the party, out of power by all means, they probably will support it. Because now we're not talking about change or sending it back to North. No, the trajectory is still residing on in the South. And as of today, the only figure you can talk about globally that can make impact is P2P. It may not be easy, but I think the interest of every one of them will be submitted into who is the more popular candidate amongst them. And if you look at what is happening, at least, yes, 2023, P2P wasn't having that because the party he wasn't that known until he came in there. But this time around, with the kind of food there, and I'm sure when they are going to choose a common party, they are going to choose a party that has a spread. And that spread will help in galvanizing support and every other thing. But I know that the president is out. And the only person now, if I'm telling you, it's still the P2P, it's still the alcohol man within the South. I don't see any other person, taking it off from him.
Can I ask you this?
Yes.
Lester talked about these unwritten arrangement in Nigeria, when the presidency goes between North and the South. So it spends a particular time in the North, and then Buhari did 8 years. So the expectation is that the presidency will be in the South for 8 years. So my question now is, don't you think some forces in the North, some people in the North might see a Peter Obi presidency as, very tricky, that if you gave him the ticket and he became president, he would not do one term and will stay in the South for more than 8 years. And as we speak today, part of what caused the problem in the PDP, the reason why the argument of some of their top members at the ticket to Atiku Abubakar is that they claimed, or they argued, that the South the presidency has too much time in the South. That when you look at Obasanjo, you look at Jonathan, and then Yar'Adua, who was to do probably 8 years, didn't even do up to half of his term. So that, when you do then the North sacrifice additional 4 years. That's if, for instance, they give that ticket to Obi and he won. And you expect that they will believe he will do 4 years? Okay.
Right now, Nigerians are looking at the best that can help. As I have some friends. Some friends who are Northerners. But they've never talked about anything Southeast. But now they are now realizing that. So maybe we made a mistake. Why don't we give this to South? So the permutation is still there. I'm telling you, as of today, the orientation of Nigerians prior to 1999 has changed. Nigerians are no more looking at, even the Northerners, some of them are always coming to me and saying, look, we produce all these presidents, the military presidents and whatever. What happened in the North? Have they been able to come up to match what is happening in the South? So I think the change is coming, and the change will come in such a way that once we have a good leader right now, I'm telling you, this tribal, the vacations, religion, zonal, will fizzle out. And why we are still bringing this, whatever, is because those whom we chose have never lived up to expectations. The day we get a good leader, I'm telling you, Nigerians won't even mind. Tell the person, look, we have Nigerians that are changing, and they are not static based on now are people that can go and showcase their stewardship scorecard in such a way that every Nigerian will benefit.
Okay.
All these people and this and except miseries, hardship. So it's not about whether it's north or south. If the north, I'm telling you, bring the best of the persons, and Nigeria saw that this guy is okay, he's a pure nationalist, then we vote. So I'm thinking a situation whereby we can do away with this issue about the economy on zone 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. No. We need a Nigerian, not a northerner, not a southerner, not a westerner, a Nigerian that can look at us, galvanize Nigeria, giving us that national pride. And when you come out as a Nigerian, people will respect not where you come from or your religion, but because you're a Nigerian who is taking every Nigerian to the map.
All right, Lester, let me give you the chance, your final word on this.
Thank God, my brother Maduka.
Okay.
In 2023, Obi had no chances from onset because he couldn't have gotten the spread. So he lost the election without. I mean, anybody who is saying he didn't win, he didn't lose. He lost that election, and so sad for him. But see, going forward, the kind of momentum P2B had in 2023, that movement is gone, sincerely. So if anybody is thinking that Mr. P2B can resonate what he did in 2023, that must be just a wishful thinking, because the momentum of that movement is gone. And right now, people took him because they saw he was not part of the old bloc. A lot of people that went for him was because they see him as distinct from the old bloc. Now, if you attach an article to P2B, of course, that's a bad ticket for the so-called obedient movement. They will not even, it will not sell the way any other ticket will have sold. And like you said, the best option for the Northerners now is to either stick with Bola Tinubu so that he will finish his 8 years and then power is batted back. Let's not kid. I don't like discussing tribalism or sectionalism. That's one thing. But I have come to see that is the reality of the day. That is just the reality of the day. There is no way the politicians will allow that interest, that unwritten rule to be broken. Even when Jonathan was what made Jonathan to lose that election was because they felt that was getting too far. He finished one term, he finished he finished Yar'Adua's term, now finished his own term. So any other term would have been so much election, would not have gone in for that. And again, APC was able to get a candidate that had the Northern appeal in order for them to. It's going to be a long fight for the coalition. It's going to be a hard work for them. The only thing that will save the coalition is to better all their interests and go for a neutral person, a neutral southerner that will have only 4 years written, signed, affidavit sworn on it in the court.
But that is not going to happen.
I am taking this job, it's going to be only 4 years, then the Northerner will take back. Anything short of that,
no way.
I tell you, the Northerners will want to, because the politicians will tell you they don't, if even they agree, they will say, would they agree? So the man will come to the public, swear an affidavit, stamp in the courts, publish everywhere, so that the people supposed to support him knows that after 4 years, though, he's not going to say, I have constitutional 2 terms.
I can tell you,
it's very difficult. So
I can tell you such an affidavit will never have any binding effect.
Unless you remember that no affidavit works in Nigeria anymore. Otherwise,
anyway,
thank you, Sonny Maduka should know.
27 people posted an affidavit. 27 posted an affidavit, and then they said it was not true, and the Supreme Court accepted their position. Yeah. I whip my country. I whip for my country.
You and I, we saw the affidavit. We saw the affidavit. We saw an open display where they even saw the attack, where the president went on.
And the Supreme Court very much.
The Supreme Court of Nigeria said no.
We're out of time.
My country.
We're out of time. We're out of time. Thank you very much, Lester Wilcox. Thank you very much for your time. Sonny Maduka, thanks a lot for coming on the show. We'll talk again. We'll still have more time to talk about this. Thanks a lot. All right, that's how much you can take on the program this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
On the news, Rivers State Chief of Staff to suspended Governor Fubara says it was offered 5 billion naira to impeach Fubara. Stronger. Governor Okpebolo of Edo State made It's glad to have you join us on the news on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Tamilore Akinkolie. We begin in Rivers State, where Edison A. staff to the suspended governor Alai Fubara has alleged that it was 5 billion naira to coordinate the impeachment of his principal. Speaking in an interview, AE on his phone, adding that he had printed and distributed the proof for his safety. The offer, he said, was made while he was the majority leader of the Rivers State House of Assembly. He also denied allegations linked to the 3 bombing of Rivers Assembly Complex, dismissing claims made by former head of service George Nweke as false. And suspended Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has assured residents that the ongoing political crisis will ultimately strengthen the people. Speaking at his private residence in Port Harcourt during an Eid al-Fitr visit by Muslim leaders from 20 Islamic-based groups, Fubara urged his supporters to trust in God's process and foreseeing that every challenge serves a purpose. He reaffirmed his commitment to justice and equality, stating that his administrations envision a society where no one is oppressed. Fubara also promised to strengthen the relationship between religious groups and the government once the political uncertainties are resolved. Cautioning against violence, he urged Rivers State people to reject those trying to destabilize the state, assuring them that his administration would continue to operate peacefully and uphold constitutional authority. Now joining me to discuss the political crisis in Rivers State is Sheftam Onwala, a legal practitioner from Rivers State. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Now, what is your take on the allegations against suspended Governor Fubara and Edison AE on the bombing of the Rivers State House of Assembly complex?
Good evening and thanks for having sincerely. State categorically that I've said this on different fora that the issue of the allegations against the governor as well as the chief of staff including the chief of staff, was tried for the burning of the House of Assembly and exonerated them completely. 1 year later, to say that what these are the persons who mastermind House of Assembly. And we keep asking questions. And what do you expect us to do at this point? Because the matter has become sub judice. The court has legislated on it already, has decided on it already. Conversation right now. It only goes just to tell you that there is more to what is happening. And that's why I've also argued and said, see, for such a man to have withheld something like this, soul of the country, such a man should be tried for treason. Because the offense is a treasonable felony. Because if you ask me, you withheld critical information that had to do with the destruction of critical government facility, the destruction of an arm of government. No. It is highly unacceptable. It is highly so. For me, I really do not take the confession. When you look at the circumstances in which he had made this the statement, when you look at the circumstances from the fact that he had requested for financial support from both the governor and the chief of staff, and probably did not get them. Probably has gotten a minister's side, and as it is right now, on the strength of getting that support, the only way to get the chief of staff in a matter to The burden of proof usually lies on he who alleges. In law, we say he who alleges must prove. It is a man who has said that Edison here sent the people to go and bomb assembly. He should be able to provide to support his argument to say, oh, so and so person and all that. Also forget in the circumstance that what the man had just done was just to issue a press statement without any proof whatever press statement he had done. Even if he had claimed that he was going to go down to the security agencies to make complaints and all that, before you come to the press, why didn't in what he has said, people will not believe it because he has tainted himself. In court, will call such a person a tainted witness.
Well, Chief Tamwala, practitioner, I'm so sorry to call you short. It looks like you have a lot to say, but because of time, we'll have to let you go at this moment.
Probably the greatest and most audacious president Nigeria had ever produced.
To pulling out of the presidential race in 2023.
The day of the inauguration, that I had to decide on what is not in the original script of my speech. On the subsidy to the crowd, I saw very young generation. You know, it's a path of no return for my country. After, whichever way it goes, the hallmark of a great leader is the ability to decide to do at the time.
In another key moment, Bosun Tijani and Minister of Communications, Innovation. Despite Tijani's past criticism of him and This was based on recognizing rather than personal sentiments.
Picked him. It was tough. Even my very close nephews and cousins who read him on social media, they came at me and said, no, he's talented. Because and it doesn't mean that he has nothing to contribute.
In his response, acknowledged that he was surprised by his nomination and commended the president for looking beyond his past remarks to recognize his potential.
Is that your hard work on this nation will not go to waste? That everything you've shaped for us to ride on to build a stronger nation.
While Nigeria
following the gruesome killing of travelers in Urumi, Esso Northeast local area of Edo State. The victims, identified as sons from Kano State, were reportedly attacked by a mob while on their way to celebrate. Governor Okwebolo, during his visit to Jibrin's residence in Abuja, condemned the incident, ensuring that justice would be served. It disclosed that 14 suspects had been arrested and were being transferred to Abuja for further interrogation, adding that a committee had been set up to support the victims' families. In response, the Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin
Abdullahi Dalhatu began grape farming at Dufa Dufa village in Kudang local government area of Nigeria's northwest Kaduna state in 2003. Today, he's one of the very few Nigerian farmers growing grapes in commercial quantity in the country. And he's also the current national president of Grape Producers, Processors and Marketers Association of Nigeria.
What motivates me to go into grape farming is the potentiality associated with the grape farming activities. Because a grape farmer is raising handsome profit, is raising handsome income in grape farming. Because I doubt if there is another aspect of farming in agriculture which is highly lucrative than grape farming in Nigeria. I have started with the only one varieties of grapes called Black Hamburg. So on that time, it's only one varieties I am cultivating here, but now I am growing 7 different varieties of grapes. I have started with only 15 stand of grapes, but now I have more than 1,650 stand of grapes in this farm. Comprise the different varieties as I have said. Actually, I have started it from the small scale, but now it was a large scale.
Grape farming is rare in Nigeria. In fact, many had always thought it's almost near impossible to grow grapes in the country, since the overwhelming bulk of grapes consumed in Nigeria come from abroad.
When I saw the clip showing this project as a result of the visit of the chairman of the local government, I should be impressed, but I was also surprised and wonder whether this is also true. And that is why after the whole thing has gone viral, a lot of people within the country and outside the country have called me to ask me whether this is actually true, because they believe this is a treasure. And I told them that I will not tell them it is true, although my chairman has come and seen it, but as somebody who is within the domain and the area is within my domain, I feel I should first come and see it before I tell the whole world that this is actually true. It's not magic, it's not any photo magic, it is a reality. From what I've seen, I'm extremely happy, and I must do whatever is humanly possible to encourage the gentlemen and other people that have started this project through any means possible. Intervention, government contact, any other thing that will bring more publicity to this project.
Data from the Observatory of Economic Complexity, OEC, estimates Nigeria's grapes import at over $8 million in 2023, while exporting a meager $36,000 worth of the fruit in the same year. But Dalhatu is working to change that narrative.
Since we discovered that most of the grape being consumed in Nigeria is being imported from abroad, so it's part of our vision to ensure that we promote the grape farming locally in Nigeria, so that our country will be self-sufficient in grape production, marketing, and export. So in the next future, I'm sure, in the next future time, I'm sure Nigeria the dependency of grape importation in Nigeria will reduce up to 55%, so that we can rely on our local production and reach also the level of export with Nigerian locally grape productions.
Dalhatu says grape farming has been more than rewarding, and his customer base now goes beyond the country.
Actually, the grape marketing is so friendly in Nigeria because of the quality and the quantity of grapes we are producing. We are receiving different customers across the country coming direct to the farm and take and buy our product. Even international marketers are coming direct to this farm and access and buy our product due to its quality standard, the sugar content, the longer shelf life, and the quality of the product we are producing. we have the benefit of climate to get 2 good harvests per year, contrary to what is happening in the other countries. Based on the favorable climate we are blessed with, so we used to have a bumper harvest of 2 times in a year.
For now, Dalhatu grows only table grapes, which are widely consumed in Nigeria. But he says he's making plans to start growing wine grapes as well.
Grapes is a type of plant that has so many varieties. So Nigerian, we are only, as I told you, that we are only have the capacity to produce 7 different varieties of grapes. So we need more exotic and improved varieties. And most of that varieties are high-yielding varieties that will enable Nigeria to produce multiple numbers of tons in a harvest. So we need hybrid varieties of grape seedlings.
So far, Dalhatu has trained over 50 persons in grape farming here at his farm. Almost all his trainees have gone on to start their own grape farm. But he says grape farming comes with some familiar challenges.
One of the challenges is that inadequate water supply. Grape is a kind of plant that requires excessive application of water. So insufficient water supply is one of the factors that reducing the growth and development of grape value chain. And the second challenge is faced by our grape farmers inadequate of hybrid seed varieties. Then the third problem we are facing is the storage infrastructure facilities. Because there are situations whereby our grape farmers in Nigeria used to face the risk of losses due to the rain intervention. At the point of ripening, grape farmers face the risk of rainfall, and face the risk of rainfall, which will lead to damage of so many tons of grape. So if there were to be more storage facilities like cold room, that will enable both the producer and the marketers to reduce the level of risk, because when it was stored in a cold storage, the grapes will have access for a longer time before it damage. Then another is all farmers need financial support. So sure, government will provide financial support to grape farmers by having a safe and climatic condition for grapes. The rate of unemployment will clearly reduce.
Despite the challenges, Dalhatu is still his passion for grape farming unwavering as he embarks on the ambitious mission to help make Nigeria self-sufficient grapes. Deji Badema, TV360.
Le virus de planter de là, ça me beaucoup. Ici, c'était un toit. Les villageois ne savaient pas qu'est-ce que l'importance de la forêt. En ce moment, je les sensibilisais, je leur dis que l'arbre est positif pour avoir ici. Le 2 mai 2005, on a allé voir les forêts.